to day 3 of our 5 days to purpose and profit training, where Bob Proctor is sharing his secrets to wealth and fulfillment. I hope you've enjoyed the training so far, and if you've missed Monday or Tuesday, you can go to the unit section and catch the replay, but do it in a hurry because it's only up until Monday at midnight Eastern. So on Monday, we covered purpose and vision. Yesterday, we went over goals and paradigms, and today it's going to be a lesson on attitude and self-image. You definitely want to have a pen and a piece of paper because this is going to be a noteworthy lesson from Bob Proctor. I'm really looking forward to it. If you have any questions, save them because we're going to have a full Q&A hour on Friday. And Bob, I'm going to hand it right over to you.
Mikey, you look like a girl today.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, like a teenager with her pink and her hair up in a dewy... That's pretty cool, Mikey. Well, welcome, everyone. This is probably one of the key lessons that I teach, anytime, anywhere. And it truly is about you, not anybody else, but you. And if you want to change anything in your life, I don't care what it is, you're going to have to change this. We're talking about your self-image. So I want you to really begin to think. Don't assume you know this. It's not difficult. In fact, it's rather simple. Our problem is it's so obvious we miss it. Now let's think of this for a moment. Life is rather short. Here. I have my trusty hourglass here. What's in the bottom here is the past. It's gone. It's history. What's in the top, that's yet to come. Now, I have some nice plans for what's going to happen in the top in this time here. But the only way I can make that happen is by focusing on what's right here, right now. And if you give your attention to what's right here, right now, you're probably going to have a pretty good life. But you've got one life, and it's about lifestyle. It's about contribution. Now think of this. If you want to have a great lifestyle, you need to make a great contribution. When I was making virtually no contribution, I was trying to get. My lifestyle was really bad. It was not good. And as I started to study this, and I started to listen to the mentor, everything started to change. And it started to change, and it changed so fast, it just about make your head spin. It will for you too. So it's about contribution, and that dictates how we spend our days. Let me run through it one more time. We have one life, it's about lifestyle. Our lifestyle is going to be dependent upon our contribution. And that's going to determine how we spend our days. Now, we can have an absolutely incredible time. If you spend your days doing what you absolutely love to do, life is going to be phenomenal. Okay? It's all dependent on how we see ourselves and our self-image. You see, we've all got a picture of ourselves in our mind. And it's fairly obvious some people don't like themselves. All you have to do is stand back and watch how they behave. If they like themselves, they wouldn't be behaving as they do. So if you see people who they're almost self-destructive, they're not very happy. They just don't live a very good life. Those people don't like themselves. Now, I maintain they don't know themselves. Here's 3 essential questions that we've got to ask ourselves. How does self-image impact my life? How does self-image impact my life? Number 2, how is self-image formed? That's a big one. And number 3, how is self-image changed? Well, I'm going to hit on all those 3 answers here this morning. Today, this afternoon, this evening, depending where you are in the world. It's morning where I am. And I want you to really think about it. Now, to do that, we're going to run through this concept that that we just work everywhere we go because it's a concept about you. It's about your mind and your paradigm. Now, we owe a lot to Dr. Truman Fleet because he's the one that came up with the drawing. And he said that nobody's ever seen the mind, and he was very involved in the healing arts. And he could see that when we were treating people, we were treating the physical body. But he said the body is an instrument of the mind. So if there's a problem in the body, the problem has to originate in the mind. And if you're going to change the problem in the body, you got to start working in the mind. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, he said, there's a picture of the mind. This is, without question, the most valuable idea I've ever learned. And you've got the conscious, the subconscious, and the body. Now, I have said on many occasions, I have never learned an idea that did so much for me as this idea. And I can clearly remember when I saw it. Val Vanderwall presented this idea to me. I had been gathering information for quite a while. I had built up a respectable library. I went to a lot of seminars. My life had changed quite a bit. I had I'd already earned over $1 million a year. But I was mixed up. I was confused. It was like I had all the pieces for the puzzle on the top of the table, but I didn't have the lid for the box. There was no picture. And when Val gave me this drawing, it was like wham, just like that. All the pieces fell in place, and I had a picture. I started to understand the mind for the first time. I think Dr. Joseph Murphy's book, Power of the Subconscious, is probably one of the best books on the subconscious mind you're going to read. It's very, very well written. It's pretty simple. There's nothing really complicated about it. If you had never studied anything about the mind and you started to study Murphy's book, you would understand it right off the bat. Well, that's the way this drawing was. It brought everything into focus for me. So let's take a look at it. There's the conscious, the subconscious, and the body. Now, we're talking here about self-image. We're going to talk about how the self-image is formed and how it can be changed. Well, you're talking about a mental game here, so let's get into it from a mental perspective. It's in your conscious mind that you think. That's where the thinking is done. That's your educated mind. It's also where the intellect is resident. And it's the intellect that separates us from all of the rest of the animal kingdom. See, when we really understand that, we'll understand what separates us from our pets. We have an intellect, we have perception, will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition. These higher faculties give us the creative ability that we've got. We can create things. Sandy Gallagher and I are partners in the Proctor Gallagher Institute. We are creating a company, but we're not doing it alone. We're creating it with a group of other people. And so we work together as a family. And it's very important that we all operate with the same idea because we're all going to the same place. We want to make certain that we're all going to the same place. Now, the subconscious mind is your emotional mind. And nothing happens until you get emotionally involved in it. Now, he points that out here in this book very, very well. You must get emotionally involved in your idea. If you're not emotionally involved in it, well, first of all, if you're not emotionally involved, I think you're living a rather dull life. Now, let's go back into the conscious mind. The conscious mind, because you can think, you have the ability to choose. You can choose the life you want. You can choose to live the way you want to live. Now, you have the ability to accept or reject. There's a lot of negative concepts going on. There's just, our media is full of negativity. The radio, the television, the newspaper, you're just getting inundated with negative stuff. And we don't want to accept that. We have the ability to reject it, but you know something? Most people don't. Why don't? Because they've never learned how to utilize these higher faculties that they've got. Now, when you do reject it, you've got the ability then to originate what you want. See, when they tell you that the economy is going down the tubes, you can originate that. You can create a beautiful economy in your mind. I have a beautiful concept of the economy in my mind. I create my own economy. You create your own economy. Here in this company, we create our own economy. Now, the subconscious mind must accept. Go back and look at on the right-hand side of the screen there. And you'll see it's our thinking mind, our educated mind. That's where the intellect is resident. We can choose, we can accept or reject anything that comes into the conscious mind, and we can originate ideas in our conscious mind. The subconscious does not operate with that same ability. The subconscious mind must accept anything you give to it because it has absolutely no ability to reject. Now, I want you to think of the subconscious mind like your garden, like the earth. It's exactly the same as the earth. It's immoral. It doesn't care what you plant, but it will return what you plant. Earl Nightingale uses a magnificent quote in his Strangest Secret recording. He said, "You plant nightshade, a deadly poison, and not a 16th of an inch away, you can plant corn, a sweet food. One will grow with just as great an abundance as the other." Now, there's energy in the earth that's in harmony with the nightshade. That energy is not going to impact the corn. There's energy in the earth that's in harmony with the corn. That's not going to help the nightshade grow. See, there's energy that'll help the nightshade grow. There's energy that'll help the corn grow. Well, you know there's energy that'll help the positive side of you grow, and there's energy that'll help the negative side of you to grow. You have the ability to build whatever you want. Your subconscious mind does not care. But I'm going to tell you this. If you look at your results, you will know what's going on in your subconscious mind, because the results are nothing but the manifestation of what's going on in the subconscious mind. Now, you have an imagination. That's one of our higher faculties. That's one of your intellectual faculties. Your imagination is a marvelous tool. Your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what you imagine and what's real. If you imagine it, your subconscious mind accepts it as real. Now, that is huge. We're going to come back to it. Let's take a look. Here you are a massive energy, and you function on frequencies, okay? Therefore, you attract and you express energy. The energy that you're emotionally involved with, you're sending off into the universe. You are a living, walking, living magnet. You attract everything into your life. Nothing comes into your life unless it's in harmony with you. Now, when you see something come into your life you particularly don't like, you've got to know there's something in you that's attracted that. You've got to know that. If there's something coming into your life that you don't particularly like, it's you that you want to look at because you're attracting it. And what we want to do is put ourselves in a vibration that will attract what we do want. Now, we already have the knowledge and the power to accomplish most anything we want. However, we have not developed a clear understanding of how paradigms control our life. Pretty wild when you think about it. Therefore, we frequently don't do what we already know how to do. We know how to do much better than we're doing. That doesn't mean we're going to do it. You know how to earn the amount of money you want, to live the way you choose to live. That doesn't mean you're going to earn it. Okay? You can have superior knowledge, inferior results, and I'm going to tell you something that's going to cause an enormous amount of frustration, confusion, frustration. So let's put our model back up here again. There you are in the mind, conscious, subconscious, and the body. Now we say we already have the knowledge. It's right there. And the power is in the subconscious. You've got the knowledge and you've got the power in the subconscious, and you will direct it any way you want. But you've got to direct it. Now, your results would indicate you're not using the knowledge that you've got. My results would indicate I'm not using the results I've got. Now, I'm doing a pretty good job relative to what I used to do, but I'm not doing as well as I want to do. Now, keep thinking here. Your paradigm is a program in your subconscious mind. The code for that program was written by somebody else that had no idea what the hell they were doing. Now, if you want to change your results, there's only one way to do it, You got to change your you're going to change your results. You want to change, you got to change your paradigm. That's absolutely essential. If you're going to change your results, you got to build a new paradigm. Now, the paradigm is made up of a multitude of ideas. A multitude of ideas. So stay with me here for a moment. Your paradigm is a multitude of ideas that are fixed in your subconscious mind. Okay? Those ideas, when brought together, form a paradigm. It's a multitude of habitual concepts. All right? Come back here, Scott. Now look at self-image is a part of the paradigm. That's what we're going to focus on here today. And if you pay real close attention, I guarantee you may think you know this. If you're not getting the results you want, you don't know it. I keep going over it and over it and over it. Okay? So stay with me. When we say a paradigm it's a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, and almost all of our behavior is habitual. Very important we understand that. Now, let's say that you or me, when we were infants, all right? Cute little baby. And you say, well, the baby doesn't know. That baby's subconscious mind is wide open. And remember, it's immoral. It doesn't care what you plant, but it's going to grow whatever you plant. So if we took the baby and we used the graphic illustration that we're using here of the mind, there's the baby right there. No conscious faculties developed. The baby's subconscious mind is wide open. And whatever's going on around that baby is dumping right into that baby's mind. Everything that's happening in the baby's environment is going directly to the baby's subconscious mind. And I'm going to tell you something. That baby becomes a product of its environment. It sure does. And that's where your self-image was first formed. Now, some people had a self-image formed way back there, and they have never changed it. They've never changed it because they don't understand how. I'm going to use a couple of examples here. If you use them, you can get rid of that. You know that diet that you keep going on, you keep going on, you keep going on, because you want to lose another few pounds, another few pounds. You want to get down to where you were at in 1996 or something. Well, if you want to play that game, go ahead. But you don't have to play that game. No, you do not. I'm going to talk about weight loss versus weight releasing it. All right? Self-image. And let's suppose you have children in school. Well, we'll talk about grades in school. Because I think these two areas are just screaming at us. We got to get this straight. The kids in school, they can get a better mark. And so we're trying to cram information into their head. Forget that. Help the child change the image. Help them see themselves as a winner. Help them see themselves as a straight A student. They've got the power. They got it all locked up within them. They're not using it. You know why? Because they don't know how. So we want to change the paradigm. All right? Now keep thinking about this. This is so important. So here we are here again with the model. So we go from the baby, and then the baby starts to develop the higher faculties. The conscious mind begins to develop. And so you see those antennae sticking out of the conscious mind? You can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Well, that conscious mind is also your intellectual mind. And here you have all these higher faculties: perception, the will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. There's where your real juice lies, in using these higher faculties. If you use these higher faculties properly and change the self-image aspect of the paradigm, man, you're going to have a great life. I remember when I started working on mine. I really do. I started to change the way I dressed. I started to change the way I walked. I started to change the way I would meet and greet people. And it was all, I was changing how I saw me. I'll tell you a little more as we get into this. Okay? Now look at school begins. And as we say, we gather all kinds of information, but we lack information on self-image. Now, this book is essential in everyone's library. Dr. Maxwell Maltz wrote this book, published it the year before I picked this book up. So I got psychocybernetics very early. I was promoting a seminar for Dr. Maltz in late 60s in Wisconsin. He passed away. And we lost a great human being. He was a cosmetic surgeon, Dr. Maltz, Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He was a cosmetic, a reconstructive surgeon. And he would operate on people. I remember working in a factory years and years ago. And there was a girl in the factory, her name was Lorraine. Lorraine had a magnificent figure. She had a very pretty face. She had beautiful long hair. She had a great personality. But she had a scar that ran from her ear right around to her mouth. I have no idea how she got the scar, but it was a very, very distasteful scar. She would talk to you like this almost all the time. That scar obviously was really bothering her. I knew nothing about this at the time, but it was really bothering her. And I would suggest she probably didn't know much about it, or she would have done something about that scar. The people around her would have seen that she did. Well, Maltz would take a person like Lorraine, and he would operate on them. And he would remove the scar. And when he removed the scar, there was a phenomenal change in the person's appearance. But there was also a phenomenal change in their personality. But not always. He said, regardless of how successful the operation was physically, sometimes there was no psychological change. The person remained the same. That led him to postulate that we have two images. We've got the one that's reflecting back from the mirror, but we've got another one we see inside. You see you different than other people see you. This is very important. As we start to look at this, it makes a big, big difference. Cybernetics and paradigms are both control systems and operate essentially on the same principle. Both maintain a definite course of action and will not deviate from the course that has been established. You must alter the paradigm if you desire to achieve improved results. Both companies and individuals have operating paradigms. Our company has an operating paradigm. I think it's a pretty good one. We do very well, and we help people all over the world. But you know something? It can get better. How will it get better? By everybody in the company improving their self-image. You see, the company paradigm is nothing but the composite of all the people brought together. So it's important to me, it's important to Sandy Gallagher, who owned the company, it's important to all the managers, the key people in the company, that we help the people think highly of themselves. So how does this work? Well, I told you we're going to operate, we'll divide over two ways. But I'm going to show you how it operates first. There is a thermostat in-house. The thermostat operates on a cybernetic instrument. And you say, I want to control the temperature in the house at 70 degrees. So you set the thermostat at 70 degrees. Now you may be sitting, and in most of North America today, it's pretty cold with snow. But you could be sitting in a comfortable chair reading a book, and all of a sudden you notice it's pretty cold. You wonder, what's going on? It's really cold. And you get up and you look, somebody left the door and the front door open. And this winter breeze is blowing into the house. And you just go over and close the door. And everything will straighten itself out. Today, it wasn't always like that. What will happen? The thermostat sends a message of the change in temperature to the furnace. It sends a message to the furnace that the temperature has dropped to 65 degrees. A fire and a fan is automatically turned on. And the temperature starts to climb. Until such time, it gets right back where it's supposed to be, where we set the thermostat. And when it gets to 70 degrees, the fire and the fan are turned off. This happens automatically. It happens automatically. Do you know that's the way your weight is controlled? That's the way your grades in school are controlled. This is the way your income is controlled. This is the way your sales are controlled. This is the way your life is controlled. So let's keep looking. This all happened automatically. Now I'm going to tell you something. When I was a little kid, we didn't have this. We didn't have a thermostat in the house. We had a coal furnace. We had to go down when the house started to get cold. We had to go down, sure as hell, the furnace had gone out. We had to stoke it up, take all the ashes out, get some kindling in there, some paper, and then put some coal in and get it going again. We had to do that. Today, it's all automatic. You don't have to do that. If it gets cold, the thermostat just gets it all to happen. Here's an airplane. And this will help us understand the cybernetic mechanism. A flight pattern is programmed into the plane's computer. When the plane goes off course, the cybernetic system measures the deviation from the set goal and then corrects the flight pattern. Okay? That's what the cybernetic system did with the furnace. Well, here we are here. Plane's leaving Chicago, it's going to Paris. Shortly after it leaves, it gets out of the Chicago airport and it gets out of the vicinity and it runs into some real turbulent weather. The second the plane leaves the flight pattern, the cybernetic system is activated, the plane's brought right back on course again. Every time the plane goes off course, the cybernetic mechanism brings it right back on course again. I like the way Price Pritchett put it in a little book. He said a rocket fails its way to the moon. It's correct. Okay? Now stay with me here. Here we are here. There's the conscious, the subconscious. There's a self-image in the subconscious mind. And that self-image is controlling the results you're getting. It controls the action, and the action produces the results. Now let's take a look here. This self-image is a cybernetic instrument. Okay? That's your self-image. And we've got a problem here. We've got an individual who, let's say, is overweight. You're overweight, and so they decide to go on a diet. I have friends, I suppose you have friends, and have forever gone on a diet. And they have different kinds of diets, and some are very effective for a while. But then, because the self-image isn't changed, back it comes. Well, let's take a look at how we can correct this. A decision is made to go on a diet. Now, let's really study the truth of this. A person starts to take off weight. They're not eating anything white. They're very, very careful about everything they eat. And that weight falls off. The person's conscious mind sees the weight's fallen off. The subconscious see the weight's fallen off. Now what happens? When a person who is overweight goes on a diet without altering their self-image, any weight loss is going to be temporary. The self-image, being the cybernetic mechanism, it measures the deviation from the set goal and immediately corrects course. The weight that was lost will be found, and it's put right back on again until you're back on course. Now, as I understand this, it not only comes back till you're on course, it gains an extra 5 pounds, and then it loses it until you're right back on course again. This is very common, okay? Now, read Psycho-Cybernetics, read Dr. Max Maltz's book. Okay, here's another one here. Now, here we're talking about a child's self-image. And the child comes home, he's got a note from the teacher, the kid's just getting very poor grades in school and not paying attention. And they've got to put it on the physical because everything's physical. We're taught to live through our senses. So the child is not paying attention. They're getting poor grades. So the child is grounded and made to study. So they start to study. And what happens? The grades start to go up. They have tests and the grades go up. And the kid's getting better marks. Now, what happened here? When a person receives poor grades in school, it's an expression of a self-image they hold. The person believes they are not very bright. They, of course, receive a report card that reflects the poor self-image. Now, the parent makes the child give up recreational activities and study. Okay? The grades improve, but the improvement is temporary. The child's self-image has never changed. And so the child sees himself with a better mark. The self-image got a correct course. What happened when temperature dropped to 70? Corrected course. Fires turned on, the fans turned on till the room's back at 70. What happened when the plane goes off course? Cybernetic mechanism puts the plane back on course. What happens when the kid starts to get better grades, when we think the problem is in not studying? Well, when the kid gets better grades, they got to get back on course again. They start to get poor marks again. Now, this is pretty common, and it's the way it operates. Now, look at. There's your senses. There's your paradigm. Now, we know the paradigm is the problem. We understand that. The paradigm controls the vibration. The vibration controls the action or the behavior, which produces the results. So let's get our imagination to work and let's see ourselves the way we want to see ourselves. We've got this beautiful new self-image. Then we let ourselves get emotionally involved. And we start to feed that self-image into the universal subconscious mind. And as you start feeding it in there, the subconscious mind will accept it. And of course, the results change. That's the way it works. That's the way it's always worked. Now, what did he say? You never change things by fighting your existing reality. Change things by build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Build a new image of yourself. Okay? It's so simple. Now, growth, you want to grow, it's necessary you change. You're going to change. And if you don't change, it's not going to happen. That's just the way it works. H.L. Hunt said something really good one time. I had a friend of mine, Ty Boyd, who still lives down in Charlotte. He had a radio broadcast early in the morning. And he phoned H.L. Hunt, who was over in Texas. He's gone now, God bless him, but he's the guy that controlled all the silver in the world at one point. And at any rate, he phoned him and he said, Mr. Hunt, could you give us some simple rules for winning? He said, yeah, I sure can. He says, tell the people to decide what they want, decide what they're prepared to give up to get it, to set their mind to it, and then get on with the work. There you go. That's it. Now, I think we should get Rosh and Mikey in here, and Tommy, and let's discuss this. Tommy, you have been altering your image of self, and you've been wandering around in a lighter body. Body is not as heavy as it used to be. How's it?
This is true.
Well, what's happening?
Well, I would say I'm still on my journey a little bit with it. I thought I released quite a bit, and then I did find a few over the holidays, so I'm working on that again.
So you really didn't change the self-image then?
I guess not as much as I thought I did.
You were on a diet, weren't you?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, now, hey, it's okay. Can you see the difference here?
Yes, absolutely.
Tommy, you got a pen handy?
Yeah.
I want you to write this out. I am so happy and grateful. I am so happy and grateful now that. And later on today, when we're off air, I want you to fill that in.
Okay.
How you want to see you. And then I want you to keep that in mind. And I want you to stick to that. You will not want anything that's not required for the manifestation of the image. You won't want it. That's the way it works. We got a Raj there?
You do.
Raj, you're working with sales and the salespeople all the time with this. How's it working there?
Well, just like you said, what I always tell anybody that I'm working with is your image is always going to find you. You can't hide from it. And I think our self-image is our foundation for success. So whenever I'm working with somebody in increasing whatever result they want in our sales team or the clients we work with, the first thing I'm working with them is their image of how they want to see themselves and match their image with the goal they want and act as that person from that point on. And I'm constantly, you were talking a lot about repetition yesterday, Bob. I think self-image and thinking of that person is a great example of how much repetition you have to have in order to make the change.
Well, you see, I think what you want to do is stop and ask yourself, how was that self-image formed in the first place? You were inundated with information. You're inundated with all kinds of information. First of all, as a baby, your environment. Whatever was going on in that environment, that became part of you. I think our problem is we look at a little baby and we don't think of a baby as being a marvelous mind. We don't think of it as being a totally subjective mind, just soaking up everything that's going on around the baby. And that is determining what the baby is becoming. It's a becoming. And until the child starts talking to us and communicating like we might communicate with each other, we don't think the child's really learning anything. Well, of course, that's absurd. That child's learning the second it starts breathing, because the subconscious mind is wide open and we're just dumping information in there. We've got to change. Let me pull this back up. Hold on, I'll find it here. Put the slide up, Scott, please. Now look at, there's the senses. That gets you in touch with your outside world. The subconscious mind is where the paradigm is. Remember, we said it is immoral. It does not care what you plant. Now, if you take a look at the results you're in, they are caused because of the vibration you're in. The vibration you're in dictates what you attract. You attract according to the frequency that you're operating on. You can't get in if it's not on this frequency. Like people that are not on our frequency are not watching this right now. If you are on this frequency, then you can communicate with us and you're on it right now. But the vibration you're in dictates what your behavior is, and that controls the results. So it's not just action, it's action, reaction, and that's controlled by what's going on in the subconscious mind. Now, we take a look at the results in one area, and we'll say that's in our personal area. Say, I don't like those results. So let's kick our imagination into high gear, and let's build a beautiful new image of how we see ourselves. Now, when I started to do this, I got fanatical about it. I really did. And I took a lot of flack because none of my friends were doing it. None of my family were doing it. And the thing that I always thought was really rather strange is I was losing a lot. I was really messing up in almost everything I did. And people would tell me how stupid I was, you know. And then I started to study this and I started to change everything. Then they still criticized me because I was doing something so different, so out of the box. And I really was doing things out of the box. I was building a picture of my mind, and I would take my pen and I would write out that picture. Exactly how I wanted to see myself. And I used various models. There's people in your life right now that you respect. Maybe not totally, maybe not 100%, but there's something about them that you respect. I could just take people in their company. When I'm making out my gratitude list, first thing on the gratitude list is I'm grateful for Sandy's financial genius. And I really am. Because that was really the only thing that changed is who was looking after the money. And the company really started to grow. A real financial genius. So I'm very grateful for that. I started to build image of how I wanted to change my life. So I took a look at various people, how they dressed. I was reading a book on how showmanship sells by Elmer G. Letterman. And he was one of America's best dressed men. He had 30 suits. I had one. And it was a tweed, a wool, a very heavy, coarse. It was a hot summer. And this thing would scratch my legs. It was such coarse material. I remember reading in the book about getting shirts made. I thought, you get shirts made for you? Well, I'm sure enough, I found a place downtown Toronto that made shirts. I went down and got a couple of shirts made. And I would tell everybody after that, if you've never had a shirt made, you should go get a shirt made. You'll never wear a shirt off the rack again when you get one made to fit you. And I started to get suits made. And I got suits made that fit me. They're for me. They measured me. And the secret was in the measurement. I changed the way I would meet and greet people. I started to pay more attention to them, less attention to me. That was a very important aspect of the self-image that I was developing of me. I had a friend, Donnie Miller, and this is a sort of out of the box, but it was the degree I went to change me. During the Second World War, all the guys in my neighborhood, their dad was all in Europe or in the South Pacific. They were fighting. There was no fathers at home. There was very few father figures. There was only a couple of fathers in the whole neighborhood, and that's because they were too old to go to war. Well, Donnie Miller's dad wasn't too old, but he was not healthy. We never went around Donnie's house because his dad was a very sick man. And as I look back, he must have had a heart attack or something, and the doctor prescribed that he walk. And Donnie's dad would always be dressed up, shirt, tie, suit, and he would go for a walk. You'd see him walking up and down our street. And he had a very casual walk to him. And it stuck in my head. And when I started to build a self-image, I started to walk like I remembered Donnie Miller's dad walked. Well, I started to use various people as models. I remember a guy, Ozzie LaFlamme. Ozzie was into books. Ozzie always had a book. Wherever he went, he had a book. I think he read every book in the Beaches Library in Toronto. He was always reading a book. Think and Grow Rich was the first book I got into, but then I was always into books. I still am. I would pick different people that I admired for different reasons, and I would think, I'll take that part of them, and I incorporated that into my personality. I would take that part of somebody else and I incorporate that into my personality. And I was using other people as models. And if you want a good way to build a self-image, I would recommend you do that. You're not going to find one that's going to give you everything you want. So you may find one sort of a personality. And like I always talk about Mikey's attitude. I think Mikey's a great model for attitude. Woman has a phenomenal attitude, and she always has a good attitude. Even if she's wrong about something, she has a good attitude. She has a good attitude. It's our way of thinking, feeling, and acting. Well, that's what we're talking here with respect to self-image. So let's take self-image and mix attitude in with it. Scott, if you'll put the screen up now. Okay? Okay? There we go. Here we are here. Let's say this is you, or I can say it's me. And there's a power flowing into our consciousness. Now, attitude, Earl Nightingale called it the magic word. And it really is the magic word. It's it's our way of thinking, and we think here. The thoughts that we think and impress upon our emotional mind cause us to feel the way we feel. And it's those that move the vibration we're in, and that causes the way to act the way we act. So it's our attitude is our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. Now, it's the thought, feelings, and actions. That's energy that's coming into our mind. When it comes into our mind, it just is. It has no form. And we think. And you can think either negative or positive. Okay? Think one or another. You think either negative or positive. You can't think both ways at the same time. So it's either negative or positive thoughts that you're thinking. And so thoughts then that you turn over to your emotional mind, that dictates the emotional state you're in. The emotions are manifest with and through the body by the vibration you move into, and that, we say, controls the results. Well, the results are actually the manifestation of number one, your thoughts, number two, your feelings, and number three, your actions. That is attitude. You see, having a good attitude is essential if you're going to win. When you have a good self-image, you're going to have a good attitude. I don't think you can have a poor self-image and have a good attitude. I just don't think it's going to happen because you're not thinking good thoughts about yourself and you're involved in everything that you're doing. So if we took and just exaggerate on what I just say, and Mikey has such a great attitude, Mikey has a pretty good self-image. She always looks pretty good. She's got a pretty good attitude. So she's got that going for her. So if you want to have a good attitude and a good self-image, start paying attention to your own thinking, your own feelings, and your own actions. And when you do that, you're going to find your results are going to be very good. Very good. Now, Mikey, Tommy, Arash, any of you want to comment on this or want to field some questions on it? It's such an important subject.
Bob, I'd like to come in on this because I think it is so important. Attitude and self-image go so closely, or they're so closely tied together because of what is the attitude I have towards myself. I remember you always told me when we were discussing self-image and how to change it was, remember, I wrote this down because this is so ingrained, is I am not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am, but I am who I think you think I am. And I think it's so important to understand that because when we start operating from the attitude of the person we intend to become, that's when it's a game changer. And I've studied with you so closely and I've taught attitude so much on my own. And then what you just said, I want everyone to really hear this, Bob, and I'd love for you to really emphasize it because you said having a good attitude is essential to win. I think there's nothing more accurate than that if you want to create the profits, be on purpose of everything we've talked about, be in harmony with the paradigm that we discussed yesterday.
Well, let's just think what you're saying. Put the screen up again, Scott. Now, let's just look here. Here you are here. And we're saying attitude is essential if you want to win. We're talking about we want results that are positive. We want results that cause whatever we're doing to be better than what it was before we started doing it. Well, if you're thinking thoughts of that nature, if you're looking at what's wrong with things, you're sending out a negative energy. If you're emotionally involved with that, you're sending out a negative emotion. How the hell can you get involved in a positive vibration when your conscious and subconscious are in a negative concept because your body's nothing but an instrument of the mind? You couldn't possibly get good results with a negative attitude. Now, when a person has the ability to see the good in everything, doesn't matter what it is, they look for the good in it and they hold that picture. That's the picture they hold. That's the image they're getting emotionally involved with. that person is going to be in a good vibration and they're going to get good results because their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions are all in sync on this side. Now, some people find something wrong with everything. Those people are programmed to do that. And I'm going to tell you something. They do not enjoy doing it. They do not enjoy thinking like that. They do not enjoy the environment they create when they do that. Everybody wants to get away from that person. The person that's like this, everybody wants to be close to that person because there's such good feeling. There's such good results. It's so basic, it's so obvious. And thanks God, it's everything. It's how you run the whole sales force. You keep them locked into this. And because they are, we see it in the results in sales. It's I know whenever Sandy and I are talking about the finance, it's always about more, about better, about improvement. It's always going in an upward direction. That's where we've got to go. We've got to go there with our health, with our happiness, with our wealth, with everything in our life. Arash, I'm going to turn this over to you and suggest you give everyone an action. But before you do, I want you to leave them with something, an action step on this. Before you do, I want you to stop and think of what we're doing here. I believe that PGI, this company that we're all a part of, is one of the most phenomenal organizations in the world. I don't say it because I'm a part of it. I say it because all the people that are in it and the results that we get. The results we see people get are absolutely incredible. What we're teaching here is just such a small sliver. It'd be like taking maybe 2 pages out of a book and throwing the rest of the book away. You never want to stop studying you. I started studying me way back in 1961. I have never stopped. Never. I just keep doing it. I'm going to be 87 in July. I've got as much energy as most people, 27. I've got goals that are really stimulating goals. I mean, they really make me want to get out and get going every morning. If you think you'd like to do what we're doing, we want to talk to you because we have a great business opportunity where you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And we have people in 91 countries. We're all over the world. I don't care where you live. There's a phenomenal opportunity here for us, with us. And this is the highest paid profession in the world. Money is a result of service rendered. You can't find a better way to provide service. So if there's something in you you're thinking, God, I would love to do. See, that's how I started. When Earl Nightingale said the trick, there's no trick, Bob. He says, simply sit down and decide what you love to do and then dedicate your life to it. Man, I got so turned on that day. I can still see that. Now it was way back 1966. 2 years later, I had an office right beside his. I was his vice president of sales. I loved it. I would have paid to let me work. I would have paid them to let me work there. I loved it so much. This is a great business. Arash, take it away.
All right, thanks, Bob. This topic on self-image and attitude, in terms of if I can look back at some of the most important topics of developing yourself and really creating what I like to call a life of freedom, doing what you love on purpose, I think these are the two most important topics we have. Because our self-image is our foundation for success. And as you continue to keep going and operating in harmony with the image of the person you intend to become, you're going to see your life change dramatically. And, I remember I used to always ask Bob the question, what is the best thing I could do to change my image? That was a question I used to always have. And he'd always say, get out a piece of paper and write out in the present tense the person you intend to become. So I would do that. And then I would experience it for myself because we're all so unique what we connect with. And one of the things that I found so amazing on top of that exercise is get into action right away, start acting as that person. And when I started getting into action, that's when my image changed almost instantaneously. Yesterday Bob was talking a lot about paradigms, and he said there's 2 ways you could change a paradigm. And remember, your self-image is part of your paradigm. One is through spaced repetition and elite level coaching. The second way is an emotional impact. When you get into action right away, it's like instantaneous. You'll create a jolt from the old image into the new image. And really the image is about the attitude we're in towards ourselves. So what I want to do is give you guys a couple different exercises today. I want to do a 2-part exercise. Number 1, we're going to send you the audio that Bob played just for a little bit yesterday on Attitude, the Magic Word by Earl Nightingale. And what I would love for you to do is listen to it 3 times today. Listen to it 3 different times, whenever you can. But I want you, when you're listening to it, take it towards the attitude you have toward yourself as you're doing it. Like, remind yourself everything is an attitude. Money is an attitude. Right now, as I'm speaking, you have an attitude towards what I'm saying, or what Bob was saying, or what Mikey was saying, or what Tommy was saying. So really think about, I want you to niche, really fine tune, and get finite with the attitude about yourself of what's coming out. Okay. Now, the reason I want you to listen to it 3 times, I really want you to listen to it 3,000 times, because that's how important it is, But just for today, 3 times, because that's going to really get a different version of it each time you're listening to it. And then the second thing I'd like you to do is write a description of the person you intend to become and how you want others to see you. Okay. Really get involved in that. And, when you write about how you really want others to see you, because that's how the image is formed. All right, Tommy, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thanks, Arash, so much. All right. Hello, everyone. Tommy here again. And it's my pleasure to be back with you to land this plane again today. Just a quick reminder of the assignment. So part 1, listen to the magic word audio 3 times. Then part 2 of the exercise today, write out a description of the person you intend to become. This is your new self-image, how you want others to see you. Remember, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am, but I am who I think you think I am. Okay? So tomorrow, Bob is going to have another invaluable lesson for you about decision. And we are also going to welcome some amazing guests to join us.